A very good afternoon from wherever that you are watching us. It is another episode of In Conversation. My name is Bongani. This is the show where we bring you informative and insightful conversations with people that are doing the most here at our great University of Johannesburg and beyond. And joining me for this episode is one person who's doing such, a person who's highly interested and is practicing community and societal development, and he's doing great wonders at such an amazing age. Kutloano, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
I'm actually excited for the conversation because it's been a while.
It's been a while. It's been long coming.
It's been long coming.
It's been long coming. Yeah, you've been doing so much amazing work. But for a person who wouldn't know you like I do, kindly introduce yourself to the audience.
Who? My name is Kutloano Malahlela. I'm 20 years of age, born and bred in Mamelodi, Pretoria. And I'm currently doing my final year in BA Community Development at the University of Johannesburg.
Yes.
The introduction would be long, but for the sake of the duration of the interview, let us keep it.
Let's keep it there. Yeah. I think the key word, what you are studying, I think it also holds ground to what you have become, or what you have become rather. Let's start there. Was community, you said this community development, was it always your first choice?
Not really, I'm being honest now.
Yeah.
It was never, actually I never knew that a course that focuses on community development existed before, because I've always been interested in social work instead. And when applications began, I applied for social work and community development, but here at UJ I only applied for community development. And another interesting fact is that UJ was actually not a first preference.
You never wanted to be part of the Orange
I
Army.
want to be part of, but I had other aspirations.
Okay.
I wanted to go to a certain university there by the Western Coast, and unfortunately, due to financial constraints and family dynamics by then, I had to settle for a university that's much closer to home, so that it's easy to move there and also manage the financial costs that come with it.
Yeah.
So, me choosing community development, it's not that I was out of options. It's something that is really embedded in my passion and something that I've been doing before even I came to UJ.
Wow. And firstly, it would have been your loss if you had not been part of this great
Most
university.
definitely. Most definitely.
I'm glad we're on the same page with that.
Yes.
But of course, you are dubbed as the head boy of UJ. Of course, you've been working part with UJ community engagement. Hence, I wanted us to tie that and establish that you are also studying community development,
Yes.
and it has been your interest. But with that being said, you also won the Mail and Guardian 200. When did that happen? Because you have a lot of accolades. I feel like I want us to just take them bit by bit and then link them together.
So the Mail and Guardian Award, I was nominated for it May 2023.
Okay.
Was just notified that you are nominated. But
Yeah.
when I received the notification for nomination, I actually didn't accept that I would be awarded the award.
Wow.
Mainly because I think it's a very prestigious list of accolades. I mean, like some of the alumni of the Mail and Guardian Top 200 include the great Trevor Noah, some of the political figures of the current government. And so for me, being on the list at 19 then, I never imagined it or seemed it possible. So I was then conferred with the award in 23 June, and surprisingly, I was the youngest of the whole 200 list.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, I'm stunned, I'm like, what? Because at first you were 19, and then it was conferred when you were 23, and still you were the youngest, which for me the wow is for that there's a huge gap. Young people are not partaking in like being in a position to receive such prestigious awards, which is something that I think we as young people, I'm still young myself, we young people must take part and be able to change our societies that we live in.
I would beg to differ.
Okay.
Young people are taking the space.
All right.
And even in the community development sector, community development sector was predominantly known as a sector for where people will retire, and with their retirement, they will decide to give back. They will form foundations, charities. In a township, we'll always have that grandma or uncle who will always be giving back to the community. But now that has changed. We have seen more young people enrolling for community development out of choice. We also have seen more organizations being founded by young people. So that shows you that the sector has changed in a way. But in terms of acknowledgement and award, it's not enough, the acknowledgement for young people, but it's reasonably, it has good reasons for it. I mean, like, you cannot be doing a one-time project and be on the Mail and Guardian. That is a list for 200 people in the whole of South Africa. So there's a certain merit standard that one has to meet to receive such honors. And I think for us to maintain the decorum and the dignity of the awards, we need to not gatekeep, but maintain the standard to say, let's look for people who have reached this kind of level of success in their practice in different sectors, Mail and Guardian honors, environment, academia, research, law. So setting that kind of criteria helps to maintain the decorum for the award. But we do need more acknowledgement. We do need more support for young people.
So what we're agreeing on is that they are doing something to an extent. However, there's still a room for more, of course, for the stature of these prestigious awards that we're speaking about, which is Mail and Guardian 200, which I get you on that. Speaking on that, I want to put you on the spot on it to say, what are some of the projects that you had done for you to be recognized as part of the nominees?
So I think one thing that spiked their interest was the founding year of the organization. So when I founded the organization, it was 14 years and I have hope. And when the award was conferred, I was 19. So meaning I had how many years? 3 years experience in practice. And one of the key projects that we were facilitating then was the spelling bee competition in South African indigenous languages. So which was more the first of its kind in South African landscape, where learners were asked to spell, be given instruction in their own indigenous languages and being awarded for that. But we also had several programs under organization that were doing wonders. We had the menstrual hygiene program, we had the hunger relief program, where we had over 200 beneficiaries that were being catered for on a regular basis. So I think that kind of track record deserved some level of acknowledgement for it, and for a fact that it was done by a teenager, and it was achieved even before the organization was formalized. Because remember, the South African legislation allows you to register as an NPO only when you have surpassed 18. So meaning before I turned 18, we were running not as an NPO. It was a stokvel. Stokvel So it was just a committee-based organization, what we will call running an informal status, but we're making strides. I think our first funding, we received them, I was in grade 10, and it was from a private radio station. And for them seeing the passion in us and acknowledging that you deserve support, it was enough for an award. Wow. It's quite
impressive. And question that follows is, why the spelling bee? What did you see around your community? And I want you to link that to maybe your upbringing. Take me to contextualize it, where you come from, and what are some of the challenges that you noticed and said, we're losing our languages. We need a spelling bee that caters for these African languages, or what were the challenges that you identified in your community?
So now I grew up in a township. Mamelodi is not really, I don't like it when people say I'm from the dusty streets. Mamelodi doesn't have dusty streets.
Come on. I've been to Mamelodi, the red ones.
So, but I grew up in Mamelodi and then went to public schools from my whole of basic education. Yes. And one key thing in basic education is that in public school is that you'll be taught English in Venek. Doesn't make sense, but you'll be taught what is a verb in Sipate, and it worked. At UJ now, it worked for most of us.
Articulated now.
And once you move from a township space, you move to a more city space, you found that English is more preferred, is more monetized, it's more, when you come there in a room and you start speaking Spade or isiZulu, you are deemed less intelligent, you are deemed less qualified or less deserving of opportunities.
Yeah.
And on top of that, we have devastating statistics of grade 4 learners who cannot read for comprehension. They cannot read for comprehension because they don't know how to, or they can't be taught how to, but mainly because they are taught in a foreign language. That's one reason. The second reason is that this generation is a multilingual generation, in the sense that our schools are multilingual themselves. So you find in a classroom there's learners who speak Sepedi, isiZulu. Then when they leave the school, they speak Spitori.
Yeah.
Then when they go to their homes in the same street, there's Chitonga, there's Chivenda, there's all that. Alexandra is one of perfect example of it. People in Alexandra, they switch in language from speaking Sepedi to Swat and all that, and they are fluent in all that. So when the learner goes to a classroom now and they have to concentrate on one language that they barely hear in their daily lives, it becomes difficult for them to comprehend. So the spelling bee competition came as a reason to say we need to promote our African indigenous languages. We also need to show the young peoples that it's more fashionable, it's more fancy when you speak isiZulu. It's actually more interesting. And that is the main reason that we wanted to award and to say you can also make money from speaking isiZulu. Because even with our partnership for the competition, we had amazing prizes. I think the champion speller walked away with a laptop and vouchers up to 6,000 rands. So that, in a way, we wanted to show that as much as it's fancy to spell in English and spell bombastic words, it's also attractive when you will spell Kwanongoma on the stage. So that is the main reason and rationale behind the spelling bee competition.
Yeah. Well, when I speak Zulu, they say umakeza. I was now taxi driver again. So yeah, true. It's especially in certain spaces, you know, speaking. Of course, English is to accommodate. It's a universal language that we all can understand. Predominantly in our sides of the world, you know, we speak of.
I always debate again, not necessarily debate, but I'm against the notion that it's a universal language, because we have made, as Africans, we have given it that universal status. But if you go to the Western countries, like on my recent trip, not even recent, but before my recent trip, I was practicing English every day, saying, you know, I will be spending 3 months in a European country. I need to be fluent in English. The first thing I learned when I got to Germany was everything was written in German. And none of the Germans were interested in speaking to me in English. So that shows you how other Western countries in Europe are willing to protect their heritage, and they're not willing to trade it for anything. If you want us to have a language, if you want us to have conversation, then let's be accommodative towards each other's languages. Diplomatic stages continue to show that there's no video where you will see delegates from China or Russia speaking English. They always work with a translator if needs be. So it's always us, from the townships, from the villages, from wherever, who want to be accommodative at the expense of our heritage.
True. The universal aspect that I was talking about, I think, I hear that, true. But remember, we still have the colonial effect, you know. In Africa, the African Union, which is also diplomatic, and the legislative aspects of it, it's, it recognizes about 5 languages across Africa, of course, including your Swahili, English, French, which we have your Francophones. So it's what colonialism has done, and it would be, as part of decolonialism or decolonization, it would be a thing to tackle, to say we still have our own heritage as African people, and we wish that to elevate those languages, which is what the spelling bee, I think, in that regard, aims to tackle, even at a small level, whereby we also need your governments and all to also now start to put the foot down. So the universal aspect is that, in a contextual sense. That's
just clarity.
Just clarity on that. How is it universal? But you were only 14, Kutloano, when you started this. Wasn't there a personal story to like, Mara, how many languages do you speak? Let's start there maybe.
When I was 14, my school offered Chivenda, isiZulu, and Sepedi. So I can communicate in Sepedi, I can try communicating in isiZulu. I can hear Chivenda, but I cannot communicate back in Chivenda. My melody is more leaning on, not sure if Nguni is the right term to use, but
Yeah.
it's more on Ndebele, Zulu, less Xhosa, Setswana, and all that. But in my melody, we speak Pitori.
Okay.
So whether you're Tsonga or what, it doesn't matter really. We communicate in Pitori. That's our yes, Damani, the Daibra. So it's our language, even in the classroom, it's that.
Yeah.
But personal story behind the IFOP, there's really no personal story. But the IFOP was triggered by the passing of Mamoin Madikizela Mandela. And you would wonder the shit.
It's not just yes, deliberate.
It's deliberate. It's a statement.
It's a statement.
So 29 April, I think that's the day she passed on. That's when I started knowing about Winnie Mandela, and I was in grade 9. And being a lover of history and heritage, still now, even then, I was intrigued in knowing more about this woman. And I spent all these months, of course, given the PR stunts that was happening around her death, there was a lot of adverts about her, documentaries and all that.
Yeah.
There was always a burning desire to say, who is talking about this woman? Are we talking about her enough? And on a random day, I went to school, and when I got into class, I went to my friend. I was like, "Do you know Winnie Mandela?" He says, "Yes, I know her." Like, you know, when I grow up, I want to do something.
Okay.
I want to host something in her memory.
Yeah.
And she said back to me, "Why don't we do it now?"
Mm-hmm.
And that's how the IFOP started.
Oh.
The IFOP started initially as a memorial lecture, memorial event for Winnie Madikizela Mandela. And we organized the lecture at Stanzapo Pape Community Library, invited speakers to come speak about this woman, but linking it to youth empowerment and her role in driving youth empowerment. And funny enough is that we planned an event and we didn't invite people. So we were young. We didn't think about that aspect of PR and marketing. So come the event is scheduled for 10, but no one is showing up. Only the people we invited and our families only. So the hall, only 2 rows of the hall is full. But everything continued, and the thing, each speaker, when they assumed the podium, they each encourage us to say, expand this. It's one of its kind. It's deserving to be expanded. And after that, we convened with the team I was working with then. Some of them are still members, some of them have left. And we were like, no man, we need to establish an organization. Then we established the Eye of Hope youth-based educational program.
Okay.
We were focusing on the founding years, we were focusing on educational events, on youth empowerment and addressing socio-economic issues like drugs. Then we expanded to becoming a diaphobe youth organization. We focus more on broader issues. Where COVID hit and organizations were panicking, wanting to close, we expanded to be a community development organization. And that's when we received our first support, first funding grant. And when COVID hit, I was 16. And here's the thing. When COVID hit, that's when we developed our hunger relief program, which was for providing food parcels and food drives to the disadvantaged community. And before we could distribute, sometimes I wonder where did we get the wisdom? Because before we distributed the packs, we would go to house by house and do what we called needs assessment. So we printed pages. Of course, the page was not justified, was not aligned, different font sizes.
Yeah.
I cringe every time I look at this, but we were young.
Yeah, true.
And we would go to house by house. This is in the middle of the world's deadliest pandemic, by the way. And we're in one of the unsafest community as far as extortion is concerned. And we would go house to house, and when we got there, tiny as we were, we would ask, what do you need? And we would profile how many people live here. And in the next coming days, once we have procured everything, we'd go and deliver, all thanks to our partnerships then. So some things I don't want to say it's because we were wise or we're intelligent. I think there's something that was driven, not to be religious, But it's a gift beyond us, and it's an organization that I think we will also outlive because we are just servants.
Wow. Wow. Firstly, that's humble. That's a humble statement, to be a servant. You're acknowledging the work that I need to do this, and it's more like a calling. As you said, no religious statements, but it is a calling from inside. And you spoke of partnerships and the amazing work that you guys did during the world's, namely or considered as one of the world's most dangerous pandemic, and you guys managed to expand and grow and still save lives as much as you could, as young as you were, with the technicalities there and there, but you still managed to move through. Now I want you to take me on us to fast track. You come to UJ, as we established earlier, you have a good relationship with community engagement. How has that partnership been? Take me through that relationship, maybe your first engagement with them, and how you have grown over the years. I know it's a long work that you've done, but in brief, how has your relationship been and the partnership with community engagement at UJ?
So I would say community engagement was the first friend on campus. When I came to University of Johannesburg, I'm not into sports.
Yeah.
I tried poetry, it failed. I tried artistic, it failed. So I had to keep myself busy and homely with something that I'm used to, which is community engagement.
Yeah.
And the first engagement with the office, I remember they recruited me, and then after filling the volunteer form, they added us on the WhatsApp group. And the then Volunteer Champions Ambassador, Cynthia, sent a message on the group, say, tomorrow at this time, we're going to volunteer at this space. But because of me, and also I think it's a certain element of being an overachiever as well. When that message was sent, I was interested in knowing why are they going to volunteer there. And if they are going to volunteer there, it means they can come and volunteer at the Eye of Hope. So
you're poaching.
So I'm doing stakeholder
that
relations.
Eye of hope on people.
I want to. I'm here to network. I don't. So when I called Cynthia, I was like, I'm running this organization, and this is what we do. I'm interested in knowing how we can navigate partnerships. And to fast track that was fruitful. We recruited and asked to join the community-based organizations forum of the university, where several CBOs around Johannesburg and broader areas meet on a quarterly basis to get capacity building from the university, as well as to also network with each other. And from then I've been a stakeholder with the community engagement unit, volunteer. Now I saw I was watching the award ceremony, and I saw community engagement ambassador. I was like, oh, okay, it means I got promoted.
So you forgot to say that in your introduction today.
So all that, but that's, I think, if there's any growth that took place during my tenure as a student at the University of Johannesburg, I would give credit to the community engagement unit. It gave me the platform to start, to make mistakes, to sweat on the floor, to share my expertise, to share my inspiration with students and peers, and to network with the broader community. And I think even the head boy title comes from the CE unit.
Yeah,
so
true.
That's our relationship. That's my relationship with
relationship. And through that relationship, a lot has happened. As you're saying, you're giving credit to them, notably the visit to Germany that we spoke about. Beyond the cultural and then the language, how did that come about, and how's the experience? What are some of the lessons that you took from the visit?
So my department, the Department of Social Work and Community Development, is a signatory of an MOU with other global universities for the purpose of transdisciplinary international intercultural partnership project, what they refer to as TIP. So early last year, they advertised that they want a student to represent Africa at this global engagement. Usually the partnership rotates amongst its partners. So this year they are deploying students from India, I think. And then sometimes they deploy students from Uganda, Makerere University, and other universities on the African continent. So last year they were only deploying one student from South Africa who will represent Africa in this global engagement. So applied like anybody else.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I was not known, so I was not going to be given preferential treatment by the department.
Yeah.
So I applied the required motivational letter, CV and all that, shortlisted for an interview, went for an interview. Surprisingly, for my course, I was the only student who applied. So meaning I was competing with social work students who inspiringly always take up opportunities. One thing about social work students is they are always active and all that. So I was the only community development student versus social work students, and went for an interview. Fast track selected to represent University of
Were you the
Johannesburg.
only one?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So it was very competitive.
Yeah, indeed.
Because it's a 3 months opportunity in Germany, Ludwigsburg, and fully funded. Everything is catered for, and great opportunity to network. It has its certain level of diplomatic. Like when you were there, I was more treated like the University of Johannesburg. It was like I was the mouthpiece of University of Johannesburg.
Wow.
And that's one thing I appreciate about it. From my arrival in Ludwigsburg, being welcomed by a team of people who were dedicated in managing my stay there. And that's how the scholarship came about.
And you did not only stop there. Amazing scholarship, amazing opportunity. You further went on to be with the South African BRICS Youth Association.
Yes.
Tell me about that as well, because that's, as you're saying, we're a mouthpiece of UJ, the leadership quality that got instilled in you to be able to represent the university, but also that leadership role kind of got enhanced, in my belief, with your involvement with anything that has to do with BRICS. You know, it's how did that happen, and the lessons that you took from there as well?
So the South African Youth South African BRICS Youth Association, SABIA, was hosting a model BRICS. So a model BRICS is more of like, I don't want to say act, but we are in a way simulating what happens at BRICS. So this was in build-up of the Kazan summit that took place just recently in Russia. And the summit, the model summit, brought about I think over 80 delegates from different countries all over the club. Some of them are member states of BRICS, and some were those who were applying for membership, and some are not even part of the member
BRICS,
states. And I was awarded the opportunity to simulate the Prime Minister of India in the Model Summit. So what happens in the summit is that in the Model Summit is that you are nominated for that position, you accept the nomination, and then you start preparing for the summit. So we are given a topic. Our topic was on BRICS financial systems and payment, and we're focusing on the use of local currencies for foreign exchange. And 3 weeks prior to the summit, it's all about research and preparation. And I think we had the most well-researched, well-prepared team with diversified experience, some coming from academia, education, civil society, and all parts of the country. And when we prepared when you prepare a draft zero. So a draft zero is a document that lists preliminary declarations or preliminary demands for the summit, what you as a country want to bring on the discussion. And everything must be in line with India's policy position.
Wow.
So I'm South African, but I cannot speak as a South African. I must mimic. I'm not sure if mimic will be a appropriate word, but yeah, you must literally simulate India. And to an extent that even when we're delivering our statements, opening greetings will be done in Hindi. Is it Hindi? Yes. We'll greet in their language. We'll have to resemble a certain element of their heritage. And one of the key highlights, I think, from this simulation is how diplomacy needs you to think on the spot. So we had a setup where it will be, I'll sit in the front, and then on the right there will be the simulating foreign minister and BRICS chair on the left. And we have a document, draft zero, that tells you this is what you discuss as we have decided. And we start, of course, by delivering your opening statements. Immediately after opening statements, when delegates start flagging their country's flag, showing that they want to engage now. that's when you see that that document that you prepared no longer works. You just prepared it, you have it there.
Yeah.
I remember we had a person who was dedicated to monitor Indian news. So there was, I think, a breaking news where they were entering into a foreign partnership with another country, and we had to change my speech on the spot, include that, because that will have something that will be done in that. And also, it becomes a very heated debate with other delegates. We were more outspoken as the Indian delegation, and we were always flagging to that. And I remember one delegate from another country saying, "We feel attacked by the Indian delegation." We're like, that's not about it. But also in rapping, diplomacy, what you learn from diplomacy is that when you're on that stage, you don't speak on your behalf, but you speak on behalf of a country. So statements such as, "I think," "we feel like," they're no longer relevant. You don't use such, they regard it as undiplomatic to use them. So you'll be using a lot of plural words like "we." Some will also prefer to use their capital cities, like saying New Delhi, Washington, or Pretoria says. So it teaches you a lot of diplomatic etiquette as far as public speaking is concerned, dress code to a certain extent, engagement as well, protocol, a lot of protocol. Like on the debate where I had a debate with another head of state, but for that to be resolved, I couldn't go and have a conversation with the head of state. Instead, the Minister of Foreign Affairs had to go and speak with the Minister of Foreign Affairs for another delegation, solve it, and on the other end, I will be asking other presidents or other simulating presidents to go speak with the person I'm in conflict with, so that they can solve it. And then after solving it, that's when we can have a conversation. So that's how, even with some of the conflicts that are happening, that's how conflicts are solved. You don't have head of states meeting in most instances. It's unlikely to have that.
Yeah, that's like, because the thing with protocol, it's not always just out there, you know.
Yes.
The etiquette, as you said as well, it's not out in the public, and I still personally, I feel like I'm fumbling in terms of protocol, just even at this basic level, you know, when you addressing probably there's the member of the executive committee, you know, just to articulate yourself well, it needs practice. It needs such a model that you guys were part of, which gave first-hand experience as to how you can take that. And I feel like that builds you as a leader now to say, you understand the etiquette, you understand how to conduct yourself. Now it's infusing with your own ideas and the visions that you have.
Yes.
And all this is happening while you're a student here at the University of Johannesburg. And finally a student, even not just a regular one.
Yes.
Finally, which is where I want to now put you on that spot as well to say, not really a spot, but to say how has been the role of the University of Johannesburg, the UJ's environment in terms of being conducive for you as a student to be able to spread your wings as well, to also take leadership from the university and be able to tackle your passion, to drive towards your passion. How has been UJ's environment for you in all this?
I think here at home we have the most positive enabling student life environment, not only with opportunities, but in most organizations well established like our university, it's not easy for institutions to give opportunities to first-handers. You are required to have some level of experience, you are expected to speak in a certain way, but literally at the University of Johannesburg, you are given an opportunity and a platform to start first, to sweat first on the program, and they refine. It's like turning raw gold into a diamond, and once you are that diamond, you'll continue refining you and refining you and refining you. So really the University of Johannesburg has played a huge role in my professional growth. The opportunities, the platforms, I'm forever grateful for them.
Yeah.
And I always say that when the University of Johannesburg says, our future now, our future reimagined, they are not joking. They really do reimagine futures. And I think I'm always grateful for that, from the platforms where I'll be given to share my knowledge and my experience. Because also to acknowledge that before I came to the university, I had some level of practical experience of community development. I just lacked theoretical knowledge and experience, and academic experience, and as well as practical experience from a formal institution. So them harnessing my passion and refining my purpose like that, I think it's one of the commendable acts that the university does. And interestingly enough, it does not only end with me. There's so many great students at here at the University of Johannesburg in sports, in arts, in academia, in research, in business who do seemingly amazingly jobs. And one would think that when admission process is underway, University of Johannesburg pinpoints the students they recruit. It's like there's a certain criteria we'll go for. But I think credit should be given to the environment, how conducive the environment is for growth and how opportunities are readily made available for young people. And it's really up to the person's hands and interest in wanting to tackle the opportunity. If you don't want, I guess Branfan me.
Indeed, and we'll stick around because we just launched Strategy 2035. You heard it aligns perfectly, especially in your field and your aspirations, being a leader and also touching communities. Societal impact is at the forefront. So stick around. I don't know. It's your final year. I'm just saying stick around if...
And maybe also to touch on the strategic plan. I think one thing that stood out for me is the student voice in the strategic plan. In most instances when people draft strategic plans of institutions, of corporates, the voice of the main benefactor, the main reason behind the student, of course at UJ context it will be students. We here because of students need to get qualifications, they need to be capacitated. It's in most instances it tends to be undermined. But the University of Johannesburg strategic plan, it's loud about capacitating the UJ community for the opportunities of the evolving world of work, giving them opportunities to shine and platforms to all that. So I think that's one commendable thing about our strategic plan. It's the student voice in it.
It's inclusive. Because students are stakeholders. They are key to the entire institutions, and considering the students' voices, it's quite... it's amazing. And now, almost towards the end of our interview, we have a thing that we called Monday Motivation. So that's just you speaking to anyone who's watching us now, regardless, whatever that's going through your mind, but that's going to motivate a person to say, as we speak now, some maybe have finished their exams, some are starting, some are waiting for maybe, so there's a lot always happening in life. And I just want you to look into your camera, which is that one, and say something to someone watching us right now.
I think my encouragement for the day, for the year, and for the rest, hallelujah, amen, is that as a young person, dare to challenge the status quo. It should never be about you reducing yourself to be accommodative to the societal standards that have been met, but it must be you setting the status, making the societal standards be conducive for you. And if as young people we can go out there and dare to challenge the status quo, if we can go there and really position ourselves as the next cohort of African leaders, literally the world is
your oyster.
Not even an oyster. It's I wanted to compare it to an African dish. So but it's really that possible. Everything is possible as long as you put your mind to it and your heart believes it. You can literally achieve it.
Wow. Yeah. Well said. Well said. I'm blown away. I'm taken off. I think you've motivated me. I'm also the verge whereby isn't was that
It happens to all of us.
But wait, that just came to my mind. You also, as part of the things that have happened, also went to Africa by bus. Let's touch a little bit on that. We owe it that. How's your experience, and what lessons did you take from it?
Africa by bus was seemingly interesting. I went. Every program that I go to, I try to limit my expectations. But because we're going to an African continent and I'm passionate about African heritage and African development, I really had expectations on that, and surprisingly the program met it. Of course, we know that the traveling was long. It's literally a tour by bus, jumping into countries. But the research project that we worked on, which was surprisingly quality research project that stood out of all research projects that were conducted. I think the experience itself was really interesting. We met great people, great discussions, and all that happened in a week. And yeah, it's also University of Johannesburg.
Also University of Johannesburg.
So yeah, Africa Bus was really great.
It was really great.
Enjoyed.
Yeah. So for the viewer, the Africa Bus was to Namibia, drove all the way from Johannesburg, from the University of Johannesburg, by the University of Johannesburg, all the way to past Botswana, Botswana into Namibia, got to Windhoek, went to Swakop. Trust me, the distance is a lot, but it was amazing.
It was amazing. And
yeah.
now looking at Swakop, when it's near South Africa, so it's like we went, oh Lord, we traveled.
But hey, Kutlaono, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an honor to have a chat with you.
Thank you very much for having me. Is it an hour already?
Yeah, trust me, it's long gone. People are like, when are these guys ending?
Yeah, it didn't feel like.
Didn't feel like.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
No, definitely, man. Continue with the great work. We're sure going to be having many of such conversations. Yeah, man.
Let's talk at doctorate level.
We'll fast track. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, dear viewers, for tuning into this episode of In Conversation. Well, Kutlaono came through and told me all about his passion for community engagement and where it started. Imagine from the age of 14, started doing amazing things, and he's still doing great things, as he is dubbed by community engagement here at the University of Johannesburg as the head boy of the institution. When I'm in high school, but he's here. Well, my name is Bongani. Thank you so much for joining this episode. Make sure that you do follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn. We are UJTV 23. Have a lovely day.
Okay, beautiful.
Oh, nice. That was actually a nice conversation.
Made you reflect to be like, hey, I've came along. spoke of partnerships and the amazing work that you guys did during the world's, namely or considered as one of the world's most dangerous pandemic, and you guys managed to expand and grow and still save lives as much as you could, as young as you were, with the technicalities there and there, but you still managed to move through. Now I want you to take me on us to fast track. You come to UJ, as we established earlier, you have a good relationship with community engagement. How has that partnership been? Take me through that relationship, maybe your first engagement with them, and how you have grown over the years. I know it's a long work that you've done, but in brief, how has your relationship been and the partnership with community engagement at UJ?
So I would say community engagement was the first friend on campus. When I came to University of Johannesburg, I'm not into sports.
Yeah.
I tried poetry, it failed. I tried artistic, it failed. So I had to keep myself busy and homely with something that I'm used to, which is community engagement.
Yeah.
And the first engagement with the office, I remember they recruited me, and then after filling the volunteer form, they added us on the WhatsApp group. And the then Volunteer Champions Ambassador, Cynthia, sent a message on the group, say, tomorrow at this time, we're going to volunteer at this space. But because of me, and also I think it's a certain element of being an overachiever as well. When that message was sent, I was interested in knowing why are they going to volunteer there? And if they are going to volunteer there, it means they can come and volunteer at the Eye of Hope. So I would say community engagement was the first friend on campus. When I came to University of Johannesburg, I'm not into sports. I tried poetry, it failed. I tried artistic, it failed. So I had to keep myself busy and homely with something that I'm used to, which is community engagement. And the first engagement with the office, I remember they recruited me, and then after filling the volunteer form, they added us on the WhatsApp group. And the then Volunteer Champions Ambassador, Cynthia, sent a message on the group, say, tomorrow at this time, we're going to volunteer at this space. But because of me, and also I think it's a certain element of being an overachiever as well. When that message was sent, I was interested in knowing why are they going to volunteer there? And if they are going to volunteer there, it means they can come and volunteer at the Eye of Hope.